Most people think they've already seen everything France has to offer, but this video is about to prove them wrong. We're talking shrinking mountains, time zones you never imagined, and the secrets behind that famous French lifestyle. Buckle up for 15+1 mind-blowing facts that make France anything but ordinary. There will be images included in this video to help illustrate the content, since I don't have endless video footage from France. I always welcome your additions and corrections if you spot any mistakes in the text or images, or even if my pronunciation slips, and I personally reply to every comment. Fact 1. The Eiffel Tower grows and moves in the sun. The Eiffel Tower isn't just a static steel giant looming over Paris, it's actually alive in its own quirky way. On hot summer days, the sun heats up the iron structure, causing it to expand and subtly move. Engineers have observed that the very top of the Eiffel Tower can sway in a small, gentle arc of about 6 inches, and its height can increase by nearly half an inch as the metal swells in the heat. It's a strange sight to imagine, France's most famous monument stretching itself out, almost like it's waking up from a nap. The effect is so well known that regular maintenance schedules are even planned around these movements. While it may sound alarming, this expansion is completely safe and is a natural property of the iron used in its 19th century construction. Most visitors will never notice, but the next time you're in Paris on a scorching day, remember, the city's grand Iron Lady isn't just posing for photos. She's literally growing and twisting, proof that even the most iconic landmarks have their little secrets. The Eiffel Tower's gentle movement is a perfect symbol for a country that is always evolving, even in its oldest traditions. Fact 2. Mont Blanc, the vanishing summit. Mont Blanc, towering above the French Alps, has long been a symbol of Europe's natural majesty, attracting climbers, skiers, and dreamers from around the world. Yet beneath its snowy crown, a quiet transformation is underway. In recent years, scientists have measured a steady decline in the height of Mont Blanc, as warmer temperatures cause its permanent ice cap to melt and shift. Where once the summit stood at nearly 15,800 feet, modern surveys reveal it has lost several feet in just the last few years, a tangible result of changing climates. This isn't just a number on a map, it's a dramatic illustration of how even the mightiest natural wonders are not immune to global forces. Local guides and scientists now regularly ascend with state-of-the-art GPS gear, making each climb not only a test of human endurance, but also a vital research mission. For many, Mont Blanc's shrinking peak is a somber reminder that the environment is fragile. Even timeless giants are vulnerable. Whether you see it as a call to action or simply a marvel of nature, the ever-changing summit of Mont Blanc adds a new chapter to the story of the Alps and to the legacy of France itself. Fact 3. The Tour de France's epic ultramarathon. When people think of the Tour de France, they usually picture the colorful blur of cyclists winding through fields and villages, cheered on by excited fans. But the tour wasn't always about manageable daily sprints and calculated teamwork. Back in the year 1919, just after World War I, the race organizers unleashed what's still considered one of the wildest challenges in sporting history, a single stage spanning nearly 300 miles in one grueling day. Riders set off from Les Sables d'Olonne and pedaled, mostly on rough, muddy roads, all the way to Bayonne, long before high-tech bikes or support cars were commonplace. This brutal tour of hunger stage became legendary for its sheer length, fatigue, and the stories of cyclists battling exhaustion, hunger, and unpredictable weather. Only a determined handful made it to the finish before nightfall, many riding with lanterns taped to their handlebars. Today, even the toughest tour stages seem tame by comparison, making that 1919 epic a proud, almost mythical part of French sporting lore. For modern cycling fans, it's a reminder that France's love of spectacle and endurance has always been at the heart of its national character, no matter how tough the road ahead. Fact 4. Les Bleus, double world champions. France's national football team, fondly known as Les Bleus, has given the country more than its fair share of moments to celebrate. In 1998, France played host to the FIFA World Cup and captured the trophy in spectacular style, defeating Brazil in the final and sending millions pouring into the streets of Paris in an unforgettable night of national pride. But if that wasn't enough, 2 decades later in 2018, France stunned the world again by claiming their second World Cup title in Russia, beating Croatia in a high-scoring, dramatic final. These 2 triumphs not only etched France's name alongside football's greats, but also showcased the diversity, resilience, and flair of French society. The squad's roster has famously reflected the multicultural mix of modern France, players of African, Caribbean, and European heritage standing shoulder to shoulder. The 1998 and 2018 victories have become more than just sporting wins. They're woven into the nation's social fabric, celebrated with songs, parades, and a sense of unity that crosses all boundaries. For millions, these golden moments prove that French passion and talent can conquer the world, not just in art and cuisine, but on the grandest stage in sport. Fact 5. France, the country with 12 time zones. Most people think of France as that iconic hexagon on the map of Europe, but the real story is much bigger and more scattered. Thanks to its far-flung overseas territories, France officially covers 12 different time zones, more than any other nation on the planet. This wild patchwork stretches from the Pacific atolls of French Polynesia to the Caribbean beaches of Guadeloupe. From the windswept islands near Antarctica to the Indian Ocean outposts of Réunion and Mayotte. The result? When it's Monday morning in Paris, it could already be deep into the night, or even the next day, on the other side of France's global empire. This dizzying spread makes coordinating government calls, business meetings, or even holiday greetings a true logistical adventure. For French citizens in these territories, it means sharing a national identity while living half a world away from the Champs-Élysées. Few countries can claim such a sprawling, sun-chasing footprint, and it gives the word French a whole new meaning. In a world that often feels smaller every year, France's 12 time zones are proof that history, exploration, and a bit of old-fashioned colonial ambition still echo across the globe. Fact 6. France, the biggest country in the European Union. When it comes to sheer size, France stands alone at the top of the European Union. Spanning roughly 248,000 square miles of land, France is the EU's heavyweight champion. Not just a land of charming villages and Parisian glamour, but also vast stretches of farmland, rolling hills, dramatic coastlines, and the towering Alps. Since the United Kingdom's exit from the EU, France's status as the bloc's geographic giant has only grown, surpassing Germany, Spain, and Italy by a considerable margin. This massive territory means France boasts a remarkable range of climates and landscapes: Mediterranean beaches in the south, lush forests in the center, rugged mountains along its borders, and windswept Atlantic shores. The size also shapes French culture, economy, and identity, giving rise to fierce regional pride and local traditions that vary as much as the scenery. Whether you're enjoying oysters in Brittany, lavender fields in Provence, or skiing near the Swiss border, you're still on French soil. For travelers and locals alike, France's enormous footprint is an open invitation, offering endless variety and reminding the world that there's always more to discover beyond the tourist clichés. Fact 7. France's 53 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. France is not just a country, it's practically a living museum. With 53 UNESCO World Heritage Sites scattered from the Atlantic coast to the Alpine peaks, France holds one of the world's richest collections of protected wonders. These sites are more than just pretty postcards. They're stories etched into the landscape, from medieval marvels like Mont Saint-Michel rising out of the Normandy mist, to the grand vineyards of Burgundy and Bordeaux, to the futuristic curves of Le Havre's post-war architecture. Walk through the winding old town of Lyon, gaze at the soaring Gothic cathedrals, or follow the sun through the gardens of Versailles. Each is officially recognized as part of humanity's shared treasure. What's truly special is how many of these sites are woven into everyday French life, not locked away behind ropes and glass, but open for locals and travelers to enjoy. This impressive roster isn't just a point of pride. It's a responsibility that the French take seriously, with dedicated efforts to preserve, restore, and showcase these places for future generations. For anyone hungry for culture, history, or a sense of the world's enduring beauty, France's UNESCO wonders are an open invitation. Fact 8. The land of 1,000 cheeses. If France had an official national sport, it might just be the art of cheesemaking. Forget the old saying about 246 varieties. Modern cheese experts count between 1,000 and 1,600 distinct types of French cheese, each with its own flavor, story, and sometimes a fiercely loyal following. Whether it's a creamy brie from the Parisian countryside, a pungent Roquefort aged in mountain caves, or a nutty Comté from the Jura, cheese is woven into every region's culture. Walk through a French market and you'll see wheels, rounds, logs, and blocks of cheese stacked with the same reverence some countries reserve for gold bars. The variety doesn't stop at the type. Even the same cheese can taste wildly different depending on which village or farm produced it. Cheese isn't just food here. It's an event, a topic for debate, and the star of family gatherings. In France, a proper meal rarely ends without a cheese course, and locals defend their favorites with a passion usually seen only at football matches. Sampling French cheese isn't just a culinary adventure. It's a window into the country's heart and soul. Fact 9. The baguette, protected by law. Few things say France quite like a golden, crusty baguette fresh from the local boulangerie. But here's the twist. The traditional baguette is not just a tasty icon, it's actually protected by French law. In 1993, the government passed a decree stating that a baguette de tradition can only be made with 4 simple ingredients: flour, water, yeast or sourdough, and salt. No preservatives, no artificial flavors, and absolutely no shortcuts. Bakers must mix, knead, and bake their bread on the premises, starting from scratch each day. This law isn't just a quirky, bureaucratic rule, it's a statement about what matters in French life. The baguette is part of everyday rituals, from breakfast with jam to sandwiches at lunch and those late afternoon walks home with a warm loaf tucked under your arm. In Paris, there's even a fiercely competitive annual contest to crown the city's best baguette, with the winner supplying bread to the presidential palace. By protecting the humble baguette, France has turned a daily pleasure into a piece of national heritage, reminding everyone that sometimes the simplest things are worth fighting for. Fact 10. 70% nuclear, France's bold energy experiment. While the world debates green energy and the future of fossil fuels, France has quietly pulled off one of the boldest energy experiments in modern history. Today, around 70% of all electricity generated in France comes from nuclear power, by far the highest share among major economies. This wasn't just an accident of geography or luck. It was a strategic decision dating back to the oil crises of the 1970s, when France decided to bet big on nuclear energy to secure its future. The result? Dozens of reactors now dot the French countryside, powering homes, industries, and even exporting surplus electricity to neighboring countries. Thanks to this nuclear backbone, France's carbon emissions per capita are among the lowest in Europe, and electricity prices have long been relatively stable. Of course, this approach isn't without controversy. Debates about nuclear waste and plant safety still pop up, especially after incidents abroad. But whether you see it as visionary or risky, France's commitment to nuclear power has reshaped its economy and set an example for the world, showing that sometimes real change starts with a bold national decision. Fact 11. The Louvre, the world's most visited museum. There's no museum quite like the Louvre, and the numbers prove it. Nestled in the heart of Paris, this former royal palace draws art lovers, casual tourists, and even the utterly museum-averse in staggering numbers. In the year 2022, over 7,700,000 people streamed through its grand halls, a crowd bigger than the population of many countries. While most come for the Mona Lisa's mysterious smile, the Louvre's vast collection ranges from ancient Egyptian treasures to Renaissance masterpieces and classical sculpture. Its glass pyramid entrance has become as iconic as any painting inside. But the Louvre isn't just a trophy for Paris. It's a living symbol of France's place as a global crossroads of culture and history. No matter where you're from, walking the endless galleries puts you in touch with centuries of creativity and human achievement. The scale and splendor can be overwhelming, but there's a special kind of magic in seeing everyone from local school children to international celebrities gawking in the same wonder. Simply put, the Louvre isn't just a museum, it's an experience, and for many, it's reason enough to visit France. Fact 12. France, the world's favorite tourist destination. When it comes to global tourism, France wears the crown year after year. In 2023, the country welcomed around 100 million international visitors, an astonishing number that puts it far ahead of traditional rivals like Spain or the United States. What's the secret? France simply has it all. The romance of Paris, the glittering beaches of the Côte d'Azur, the snowy peaks of the Alps, vineyard-draped countrysides, and storybook villages at every turn. Add to that a food scene envied worldwide, legendary art, high fashion, and an effortless sense of style, and you get a destination that draws everyone from honeymooners and backpackers to history buffs and foodies. The French have turned tourism into an art form, making even a stroll through a small town market feel like an event. And while some cliches ring true, the cafe terraces, the lavender fields, the effortless chic, what really keeps people coming back is the country's endless variety and capacity to surprise. For travelers, France is never just a place. It's a state of mind, a dream come true, and the ultimate bucket list adventure. Fact 13, the 35-hour. Workweek, France's labor revolution. France doesn't just make headlines for its food and fashion, it's also famous for its approach to work and leisure. In the year 2000, the French government enacted a bold social experiment, the 35-hour workweek. Unlike many countries where overtime is a badge of honor, French law officially capped the standard workweek at 35 hours, hoping to create more jobs and encourage a better work-life balance. While the reality is more nuanced, plenty of French employees work overtime or in professions exempt from the rule, the idea has become a hallmark of French social policy and a frequent topic in international debates about productivity and happiness. The policy sparked controversy, inspired envy, and even a bit of mockery from neighbors. But it undeniably shaped the national conversation about what life should look like outside the office. Many French people fiercely defend their right to enjoy long lunches, family time, and those legendary August vacations. For expats and observers, the 35-hour workweek is a window into France's unique priorities. A society that values living well, not just working hard, and isn't afraid to break the mold in pursuit of happiness. Fact 14, Louis XIV, the Sun King's 72-year reign. French history is filled with powerful figures, but none outshine Louis XIV, the legendary Sun King. Ascending the throne as a child in 1643, he would rule France for an astonishing 72 years, making his reign one of the longest of any major monarch in world history. Louis XIV's influence went far beyond palace walls. He transformed France into Europe's cultural and political powerhouse. The splendor of his court at Versailles set trends across the continent, from fashion and music to etiquette and cuisine. Under his command, artists, architects, and thinkers flourished, and the arts were elevated to national prestige. Yet the Sun King's rule was not all glitter and gold. His wars and grand projects drained the treasury, and his insistence on absolute power sowed the seeds for future unrest. Still, his vision for a unified, majestic France cast a long shadow. Even today, the grandeur of Versailles and the legacy of Louis XIV remain central to French identity, serving as reminders of the heights and costs of ambition. The Sun King's reign is not just a chapter in a history book, it's a living part of the French spirit. Fact 15. France, a pioneer in marriage equality. In the spring of 2013, France made headlines around the globe by legalizing same-sex marriage, joining the ranks of the world's most progressive nations. The law, known as mariage pour tous, extended full marriage and adoption rights to same-sex couples throughout the country. The change was a landmark moment in French society, igniting passionate debate but ultimately signaling a major step forward for equality and civil rights. What's remarkable is that France, a country often associated with tradition and old-world charm, was among the first 15 nations on Earth to embrace marriage equality nationwide. Cities from Paris to Marseille saw both celebrations and protests, but the new law quickly became a fact of everyday life, with thousands of couples marrying under its protection each year. Today, France stands as a symbol of both romance and modern values, demonstrating that national identity can evolve with the times. For many French citizens, and for travelers who seek freedom and acceptance, the country's leadership on LGBTQ rights is just another reason to fall in love with France. France, the realities of living, working, and settling down. Moving to France is a dream for many, but daily life here isn't always the rose-tinted cafe fantasy you see in movies. Let's start with cost of living. In Paris, renting a modest one-bedroom apartment in the city center will easily set you back between $1,400 and $2,100 per month, around €1,350 to €2,000. While in smaller cities like Lyon or Toulouse, you might pay closer to $850 to $1,200, roughly €800 to €1,100. Groceries and utilities add up quickly. Expect to spend about $350 to $450, €325 to €415 monthly for a single person's basics, and dining out remains a cherished, if pricey, pastime. A basic lunch menu often starts at $16, €15, and a dinner for two in a mid-range restaurant can easily cross $65, €60. Healthcare in France is famously robust, with universal coverage and top-rated public hospitals. The system is funded by a mix of employer and employee contributions, and while you'll pay into it through payroll deductions, out-of-pocket costs are low compared to the US. A routine doctor's visit is often less than $30, about €27, and prescription drugs are heavily subsidized. Private insurance, called mutual, is optional but common for added comfort and speed. For expats, settling down is a realistic goal, though bureaucracy can be a test of patience. Americans and most non-EU citizens need a long-stay visa to live in France, usually tied to work, study, or family. The job market is competitive. Unemployment hovers around 7%, but opportunities exist in tech, hospitality, healthcare, and education, especially if you speak fluent French. Minimum wage sits at roughly $1,900, about €1,750 per month. Taxes are on the higher side, with income tax, social security, and local taxes all taking a bite. But the payoff comes in generous public services and that famous work-life balance with 5 weeks of paid vacation standard. All in all, France offers a high quality of life at a price. From stylish city living to tranquil village life, the trade-off is clear. The bureaucracy may frustrate, but the rewards are the healthcare, culture, and everyday joys that keep people coming back or never wanting to leave. Thank you for joining me as we uncovered some of France's most unique secrets and surprising facts. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to Andy Explores the World for more incredible discoveries. I truly appreciate your comments, questions, and even constructive corrections. Every bit of feedback helps me improve. Share your own favorite French experiences or fun facts below, and let's get a great conversation going. And as always, I personally reply to every comment, so don't be shy, let's connect.